Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Amazing Race Rewind podcast, the podcast where we rewind back in time to watch the earliest seasons of The Amazing Race for the first time. My name is Andrew.
And I'm Jill.
And we are here to talk about Season 3, Episode 9, but not the whole entire thing. We're doing a Part 1 because this is a 2-hour episode.
A 2-hour TV special, as Phil says at the beginning. But
A 2-hour TV special, yeah.
That's just a bit too long for us. And we want to give... These were two... I watched both of them in one sitting, and they were two really, really interesting, jam-packed episodes. So I just feel that if we did it in one, we would not be able to adequately give enough time to each one. So we're going to break it down.
No, yeah, we would not have enough time. And plus, like, it's still, like, the regular content, because they literally just tacked one episode onto another.
It wasn't like, was it last year where there was one episode that was, like, not even 45 minutes? It was, like, 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't like that. That was
really confounding.
Yeah, this was two full-sized 45-minute episodes.
Which has me question, why do they do these kind of episodes? Is it like a scheduling thing? Are they only allowed like a certain amount of slots and then like they're over, so they have to like shove two together to make sure they like get all of their footage in? Or like what's...
It probably is a program. My best guess would be a scheduling programming thing. You have other shows starting eventually that you need to put into certain time slots. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know how TV works, but let's just assume that, and we don't have to worry about it because this did air 22 years ago.
Exactly.
But yeah, overall, I thought this was a really strong episode. I mean, like we've been saying, it's fun, but it's like we still have the intensity within it. Like, it's not just fun and everybody's all just kind of like lollygagging about. People are still here to win, and there's still intensity when it needs to be.
What?
What are you doing?
I lost my water. Found it. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
But yes, there were some tense moments, especially nearing the end.
And there's some drama popping up, some inter-team romance. I mean, we've talked about it before, but it's really starting to bloom. We're getting to the good stuff here.
We're getting to the good stuff. But we're starting in the Swiss Alps at the irrelevant Chalet Arnica. And we learn here that John, Vito, and Jill are the only team who has yet to use their fast forward. And Derek and Drew are the first to depart at 4:55 a.m. And they are told to go to the Gletscherscholot.
Awesome pronunciation.
Yeah, thank you. And you know what? I'm like such a broken record with this because like The Amazing Race 31 is the only season that like I feel like I know. But I think they went here on The Amazing Race 31 and they had like a whole rappelling task and they had to like run through the glacier and stuff.
Well, I was going to ask, because what it is it's this glacial gorge, basically. And I wanted to ask you if you'd been there, because I guess it's near Grindelwald or whatever.
Yeah, it seems to be like, yeah, just outside Grindelwald, but I did not go there.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. But I did go to some other places that we're going to talk about.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because they just like seem to go to all the places that I also happened to go to while I was in Switzerland.
You mean the main tourist attractions?
Yeah, but it's like they're all kind of like in the same area. There are some other places in Switzerland they could have focused on, but sure. Yeah.
Anyway.
So at this glacial ravine sort of thing, they have to figure out how to get to the bottom to get their key to their cars.
And these are, I know I'm jumping ahead a bit here. These are very nice cars they get to drive.
Yeah, they really had some nice cars here because they were driving nice cars earlier too.
The Benzes, I don't know what these are, but they might be more Benzes, honestly. They look super, super stylish.
Yes. So we check in with Derek and Drew and see how they're doing. And they're talking about their love life. Derek is married, which is news to us. I said OMG to that. Drew is talking about looking for love. And then Flo and Zach...
That brings in the whole thing with Flo, which is kind of... There's just some really interesting scenes. Like when Flo and Zach come in, they start... and Flo's talking. She's like, yeah, Zach's nice. But then she goes on to talk about Drew. She's like, he's more mature. He's older. Like, all that kind of stuff. And then there's just this, like, really awkward little bunch of scenes where it's just close-ups of Flo, Zach, and Drew. But it just goes back and forth between all of them looking at each other.
Yeah, because they get going, but they realize they have some time between going to the task and going to the glacier. And these scenes are so absurd, and the editing of it and the music in the back, it's like creepy music. There's like zooming in, and there's like interlaced with like pans of the moon. The only way that I can describe this, and this is like a very uneducated, I don't know anything that I'm talking about, is that it reminds me of the Twilight Zone, and the only thing that I know about the Twilight Zone is from the Tower of Terror from Disney World. So that's what it reminds me of. Just a little warning if this is not Twilight Zone at all.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was very odd. I was sitting there watching this just being like, wow, because there's like zero talking. It's just like this music and just like these long drawn out shots.
And Zach just kind of looks upset. Drew is kind of like smirking. Flo is really like, flirty, whatever. It's just the weirdest, most uncomfortable tension.
Yeah, but they were really cooking in that editing room when they were putting this together. It was something.
That, you know what? They gave us good TV. They got what they were going for.
Yeah. So Terry and Ian gets going, and Terry has a quote here where she says, "No one has ever made an attempt to lie with us." Which I don't think is a word. I think it would be align with us.
Is that how she phrased it?
Yeah, she said ally with us.
Align? Perhaps? Is that
yeah. And that's probably what she meant to say. But I love Terry and Ian just because they're just kind of on their own. But they're always like making comments about like everyone's trying to come for us. Nobody has ever made an attempt to ally with us and this and that.
They also like they don't oh my goodness. At no point were they ever a team that looked like they were seeking allyship,
No.
They seemed very especially on Ian's part, very adamant that nobody was going to touch them. So it's if I was a team there, I wouldn't look at them and say, "Oh, let's make an alliance with them." They clearly just want to be left alone to their own devices.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that it's been because we've seen all the other teams interact, like Flo and Zach and the twins and John Vito and Jill and Ken and Gerard. They're all very...
They're a good
like
little pack.
happy-go-lucky with each other, and they're like cracking jokes and like, being friendly. And then Ian and Terry are just kind of like on an island by themselves, in a corner with the Great Wall of China built around them.
What a reference!
I don't know where that came from. But so yeah, they get going, and then John Vito and Jill are the last teams to depart at 5:08 a.m., which are only 13 minutes behind Derek and Drew, who arrived in first, so it was very close here.
And it doesn't matter because they get, like you said, that gorge isn't actually open yet, so they all end up bunched up there. But we do find out that John Vito and Jill, I don't know if you said this yet, John Vito and Jill are the only team who have not used their fast forward.
Yeah, which is good for them. That
honestly,
they've been able to save it for that long, which is definitely ideal for the fast forward to want to hold on to it as long as possible. Yeah. So yeah, teams are just kind of waiting out until the glacier task opens, and it does eventually open, and the task is they just essentially walk on this walkway.
Well, it's not really a task, it's a collect a route info card thing.
Yeah. So they just walk on the walkway, and the key's just like slightly off the path.
Yeah, they run, they grab it, not a lot of issue. They turn around, they go to their cars. Yeah. They're very nice cars.
Yes, and they are told that they have to go to the Red Bridge via Kandersteg, which is where they're going to load their cars onto a train, and then the train will take a car train, and then this will take them to the adventure park.
Indeed. And I loved the whole car train thing because I thought it was going to be like a boat where, you kind of pull your car on and then you get out of the car and you go somewhere else in the boat. But no, these, you fully just pull your car onto the train and you sit in the car while the train just goes through the Alps. Ideal scenario.
Yeah, it was cool. And here we have a really interesting scene where Flo gets into Derek and Drew's car and leaves Zach alone. I
felt so... I try not to get into the personal lives of these characters, but these people, I guess, this shows you how they're characters. Because, you know what? It's a TV show.
They are characters,
that's
ultimately,
what I mean.
Yeah.
But I felt bad for him. It's not like bad. Last season where with the whole Tara and Alex thing, Tara and Will, they were divorced. They weren't going to get back together.
They were long gone.
It was more just kind of hurtful to Will in the sense that that was part of his team. But also, like, Tara was I felt she was very much like, when it came to the race, she, put the blinders on and was like, okay,
Yeah.
let's focus. It's about my team. But Flo seems a little bit more lenient on that.
Yeah, and this definitely sucks for Zach. Because she just leave him alone, and then she gets back into the car with Zach, and we see them just go like, hey, and it's so awkward.
I know, she just comes back and she's like, hey. No, I mean, maybe they had more of a conversation that wasn't shown.
Yeah,
I
was wanting Zach to say something, because this would be an interesting conversation, because Zach just kind of seems to be like letting this happen.
I mean, what else are you supposed to do?
Well, he could be like, well, I want to see them like go through, talk about their relationship, and be like, hey, so like, what are we? Because I think
I just think at this point that doesn't need to be asked. There's clearly intentions that,
Yeah, I know, but I want it to be asked, because it would be.
You want the drama.
It's an interesting conversation. Yeah,
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, and like it's a lot of tension. It would just add a whole nother layer to this. But here we see John, Vito, and Jill go for the fast forward.
I loved this fast. Like, if there could ever be a fast forward for me, this is it. This is like when. Oh my god, it was so good. What it is they go to this cheese farm, and there's just a plate of cheese, and they have to eat the cheese, the blocks of cheese. Like, they're sectioned off with little toothpicks in them, so you pick up a toothpick, and eventually you can see the clue, and then you just eat your way to, like, this is my dream. I was actually like, I love cheese. I love cheese. I don't think there's many types of cheese I won't eat. I like blue cheese. I like gorgonzola. I like cheddar. I like mozzarella. I like I cannot think of a cheese I have not eaten. Maybe goat cheese, but I haven't really tried it. So maybe this was goat cheese, but cheese is cheese. So this task, I'm sure you can tell, I loved this task.
It was invigorating to watch
fast
for you.
forward task. But they seemed a little off-put by the cheese.
They seemed off-put, especially John Vito. He took like a bite, and he was like, yeah, I don't like this. This is going to be too much. I'm not going to be able to eat all this. Yeah, they said it's slimy and like disgusting.
I'm just imagining like it was probably like fresher. Like it hadn't really been dried out.
Yeah, and they said like it seemed like really thick and dense also.
But that's like it could have been more like a brie, which in that case is just
what I was
incredible.
Thinking of. Yeah, and I'm sure it's also, like you're in Switzerland, which is like the cheese capital of the world.
Yeah, let me look. Like, what are some of the top Swiss cheese?
Swiss cheese.
But what I loved about this is, as they're eating it, there was this yodeling compilation playing over top. It was so good.
It was, yeah. But I thought this would be like a very expensive wheel of cheese, because isn't a cheese wheel actually like worth a lot of money?
Oh yeah. The Gruyere cheese. I'm butchering that. Gruyere.
But this fast forward, it was a lot of fun. I thought it was one of the best we've seen, and I don't even have a cheese bias. The yodeling music, yeah, put it to the top. Watching them make their way through this block of cheese or this wheel rather, was a lot of fun to see it.
It was so good. I loved it. I genuinely, if there could ever be a task for me, this is, like, honestly, Jill on this race has been a good representation of what Jill would like, because that's all I want is cheese. Cheese.
Well, I don't think she was like foaming at the mouth for this cheese per se.
No, but she got to, like, it was like they knew universally that, like, a Jill needs a cheese task,
Oh, okay, yes.
Like,
yeah,
it feeds
it was
my
fake.
soul.
I hear you.
I have a block of Cracker Barrel in the fridge right now, and it's taking everything in me not to go and grab it.
We don't need a Cracker Barrel right now. No, we don't need that. Okay,
but it's really good. It's medium cheddar. Anyway, sorry.
So they end up getting the fast forward. They don't seem to eat like an absurd amount of cheese, but they are at it for a little bit. And they learn that the pit stop is at Montreux on Lake Geneva. It's on a steamboat. And guess what, people? I've been there.
Were you on the actual boat or just at Lake Geneva?
No. Yeah, I was at Montreux, and I also was at the Chateau de Chillon, the castle that they were at.
Wow.
I was there also. Okay.
So they get off the car train, which again, fantastic, fantastic transport as a
Yeah.
whole.
Great
And there's
form
a
of
quote
transport.
here I have to I love. So Derek and Drew are in the car and they're getting off the car train and they're trying to figure out where they need to go. And Derek just yells at Drew, "You have a compass disability and it's severe." And that killed me.
Yes, they seem to be so terrible at directions. It seemed like whenever one of them is driving and one of them is in the back, the one who's driving is always yelling at the one at the back.
It just killed me that remember the whole thing, was it season 1 or season 2 about the compasses?
I remember. It was like season 1, episode 5 or something when they were in the desert.
Yes.
Yeah.
A compass disability.
Yeah. But as the teams are kind of getting off the train, Terry learns that the bridge they're going to is a bungee jumping site, and she feels the need to tell everybody. And
Yeah, her and Ian like talk to some locals, and then for some reason they go around and tell every single other team that's there.
yeah, I think she just really they really needed to be the ones who broke the news, and like they had the knowledge, so they just like really felt the need to share it with everybody, and especially Flo. We see Terry say like, "Oh, tell Flo, let her worry," because Flo is famously afraid of heights.
This is, a good psychological tactic, so, trying to psych them out, like,
Yeah, that's what they were doing.
But the funny thing is, okay, so this task actually inevitably ends up being a detour. And what do you call them? The options are Extreme Swiss, which is the red bridge, the bungee jump of, what is it, like 600 feet? It's like the highest bungee jump in Europe.
Yeah.
So that's the one option. That's what everyone thinks they may have to do. But then the other one is Very Swiss, which has to deal with there's like a herd of 75 goats, and a couple of them have keys around their necks. But it's just so funny because Terry, who's so adamant on psyching everyone out, doesn't do the bungee jump in the end.
Yeah, I just want to take a second to talk about the name of this detour. Like, what does this mean? Like, how is searching for a key on a bell of a on the bell of a neck of a goat very Swiss? So like very Swiss and extreme Swiss.
According
like,
to you, the Grindelwald goats are no joke.
Well, they aren't, but we're not in Grindelwald anymore.
Maybe it's just a Swiss. Maybe the goats, I guess, are a big thing in Switzerland. So, goat herding.
I think this is in contention for maybe one of the worst detour names ever. Extreme Swiss or Very Swiss. I think they were scraping the bottom of the barrel.
The name's not great, but honestly, the tasks were like, I was really happy. It was a very equally weighted detour. I was surprised more people didn't do the bungee. Well, I wasn't, because I would not want to do it, but I would have liked to have seen everyone do the goat task as well, because it was kind of interesting.
Okay, so I actually was kind of upset with this detour because it didn't seem like there was much penalty for the teams who chickened out of the bungee jump.
See, that's why I liked it.
Okay, yeah, but I think there should be more consequence. Like, I think Derek and Drew should have been ahead as the only teams who ended up doing the bungee jump by a significant amount. But everybody kind of finished their part of the detour at the same time.
And I don't mind that, because, like, which one would we be doing?
Well, if it was the way they advertised it, which was Extreme is much quicker and Very Swiss is much longer, it's going to be the bungee jump. Absolute. See,
that's... Besides the fact that heights scare me, I also just like the goat task sounds fun. Like, that is... It's not like I'm choosing it to go, like, part of me, I'm like, I don't want to do the height, but it just sounds like a fun task in general, like, trying to get this key off the neck of these goats.
It's like, sure, it's like, but it's just like so much more mundane and boring. But I would definitely lean towards the bungee jump, even though it is terrifying. And this bridge is so incredibly high. Like, this is like the largest bungee jump I've ever seen.
It was like it had the highest in Europe, something 600 feet.
Yeah. Like, the amount of free fall time was crazy.
That's, yeah. I would still take it over the skydive. However, wasn't exactly calming to look at.
Yes. But there was also, this is also probably the first time where we've seen pretty much every team choose the longer option of the detour over the more scary part of the detour, which I would assume is probably because they saw, because I think it said on the clue that for Very Swiss, you have to drive only 8 miles away to
Yeah,
the
it wasn't
farm.
far away.
Yeah, which I feel like it should have been like 60 miles or something.
That's a bit much.
Please.
Do you know how
Well,
much 60 miles is?
I mean, we gotta penalize these people.
I get where you're coming from. However, I appreciate that they accommodated people like me.
Okay. But also, when the teams arrive at the adventure site, there's a lot of like shoving going on to get down to the clue box. I think like Ken and Gerard shove Flo and Zach or something.
It's so
It was
funny.
very, very violent. Yeah.
It killed me, honestly. But what's interesting about this task too, and I didn't really understand at first, because when they complete the task, I think John Vito not John Vito and Jill. Oh my goodness. Oh, I can't even think. Who finishes the sheep thing first? It's Flo and Zach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, they come running up the hill. They've got the key that they've taken from the bell around the goat's neck, and there's boxes with names, which to me was just really weird, because usually it's just kind of like pick your
Right.
thing, but there's specific names on these like boxes that they use the key to open. It's like Flo and Zach. I was like, oh, what's going on here? But then they open it, and there is a clue, but there's also this little T-Mobile cell phone, and it's like
Yeah.
the T-Mobile promo in there. But this is kind of something new too that I haven't really
Yeah.
seen before, even in watching Amazing Race Canada. But they were allowed to do a phone call home.
Yeah, they were allowed to do a phone call home, but under the condition that they're not allowed, they have to complete their phone call before they leave and get into their cars. So it's kind of a decision of like, you can spend an hour talking to your loved one, but then you're going to be an hour behind.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like obviously they had the people back home ready to go, waiting for the call. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Flo and Zach call, and their who is it there that's for them? It's like there's both of their sisters or something, I don't know, that are like waiting for the phone call. So they're, you know, they've obviously been alerted by production team, like, oh, expect a call around here around this
Yeah.
time. So it's not like also they're gonna call and no one's gonna pick up. But it
Yeah,
was a
that would
good
be
little
fun.
T-Mobile promo ad.
Good T-Mobile promo. Yeah, and it was nice little moment of seeing people's family members, and it really raised morale for a lot of these teams.
It really did. Zach told his family or his sister or whoever to pay his credit card bill because he
Yeah,
forgot.
because he forgot. Terry is screaming, "I love you!" at her kids over the phone.
Well, I think what's funny is Terry and Ian show up to the sheep thing, or the goat thing, sorry,
Yeah.
last. And they see, I think a couple of teams are still there on the phone. So they're like, you get to call home. And Ian even comments, it's like right away, as soon as Terry hears that, she is going.
That was the motivation she needed.
Yeah. And then she gets to talk to her two sons, which she's very happy about.
Yes. And also something I wanted to talk about was when Terry and Ian, I think it was when they're at like the activity site where the bungee jump is, when they open the clue, Terry's like struggling to open the clue. Meanwhile, like Ian is screaming at her.
And they both
that
just
was
get to
great.
stand there and give each other glares.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, every single team does the goats except for Derek and Drew, which was quite unconscionable to me.
To you.
To me. Yeah. Because like ultimately it's $1 million we're speaking of.
I get it. I think though as well, because they were in a pack when they kind of got to that, you know, initial detour box, so many of them which were telling each other, oh, I'm going to do the goat one, I'm going to do the goat one. So I feel like they already, okay, well, if these two, like if there's two teams going to do the goat one, we might as well do that because, you know, it's not like everyone's doing the bungee jump and we're going to be so far behind.
No, yeah, it definitely makes people feel better about their decision. Like we saw Ken and Gerard like talk to Flo and Zach about it, and they both like, kind of gained a little bit of comfort from hearing that the other one was also doing the goat task.
No, exactly.
So yeah, the goat task and the bungee jumping all kind of wraps up at the same time, which to me was poor planning from the producers, but to you, you're happy as a clam.
I mean, I wasn't happy that it wrapped up at the same time. I was happy that, the tasks were kind of equally weighted, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't discriminatory
But the thing
against
is,
people
they're
with
not
height
supposed to
spheres.
be equally weighted. Even when Phil was like describing it, he's saying like this might take longer, but this one will be faster.
But I think even when you get down to like 5 teams at this point too, you don't want these large gaps between teams, because then it just becomes predictable, If you've got like 2 teams that have fallen an hour behind or like 2 hours behind in the race, it's like, okay, their chances of winning are gone.
Yeah, that's true. But also, I think if we say make it 60 miles away, the the thing, then we get like we force all of the teams to do the bungee jumping task, which then we have like really great TV moment of Flo having a mega meltdown over bungee jumping.
No, like, I think you're definitely right. From a viewer perspective, I would have loved to see everyone do the bungee jump, but I'm thinking of like as if I was racing, I appreciate this. Like, I see both sides.
Okay.
We should also add, though, around this time, John Vito and Jill get to the pit stop, and we're back to giving out trips. Finally, they win a trip.
Yes. Yeah.
No
and,
more of the Kodak Easy Digital Share.
while they're driving to the pit stop, you see Jill applying lipstick, and she's saying, "I like to look pretty for Phil. You never know what it's gonna get me." And yeah, I was so ready for Phil to say Kodak Easy Share digital camera, but it was a 7-day Caribbean cruise.
It was a good one.
Yeah, which is also crazy to me, like the difference in value between a Kodak digital Easy Share camera as opposed to a 7-day Caribbean cruise is crazy.
Did we look up the price of those?
I don't know. Maybe we should order one.
Yeah, like the modern models are like digital cameras are $30, whatever. This one looks older. It's like $27.
Yeah, but maybe back in the day they were a hot commodity. Who knows?
Yeah, like, okay, I'm looking, and these seem to be more older, and they're like, you can get them for $40 on eBay. There's so many of them.
Yeah, but yes.
Yeah.
Hooray for John Vito and Jill on their win and their acquisition of the 7-day Caribbean vacation.
Exactly.
So after the detour, all the other teams are instructed to go to the Chateau de Chillon Castle in Montreux. And Ken and Gerard get there first. And once again, I have been there, and I have a very sad story of this castle.
Oh, I haven't heard this before. To be fair, you never really regaled your time in Europe.
Well, here I am. It's happening now.
Okay.
I wanted to go inside the castle as one would. And online it said it closed something like 5:30 p.m. Okay. So I go on the train. Oh no, I get on a bus because I was taking like a bus from like one place to the next. And I arrived
Were you
at
in
the
Grindelwald
castle.
taking the bus there, or?
No. This was a different day.
Okay.
Yeah. And I arrive at the castle around 5:02, only to see that there is a sign at the front that says entry to the castle ends at 5:00. So I wasn't even able to go inside.
Wow,
all that
you
for
were
nothing.
2 minutes late.
Yeah. But I mean, it's really nice, like Lake Geneva. I got
I was
to
gonna
sit
say,
in,
at
like,
least the area looked nice. It wasn't like you went to the middle of nowhere for a single castle.
Yeah, and like the sun, I watched the sun go down like behind the castle and the mountains over the lake. It was really nice. But yeah, I was unable to go inside this castle. But this task actually had nothing to do with the castle at all. The roadblock prompt was the person who does this should be a nuts and bolts kind of person.
So who's doing it? You or me?
I think honestly, I'm leaning towards you. Oop.
I then too, like I was trying to hold back there in case you were really passionate about it, but I love assembling IKEA furniture. I love just like twiddling with things, especially the task ends up being you have to basically assemble a bike, and I would say like I've spent a lot of time with bikes. They're also really basic. I don't know, to me they're pretty basic mechanics, but especially they give them a reference bike, so it's like everything you need is there. It's just putting a puzzle together, you know?
Yeah, I think you're definitely a little bit more mechanically inclined than I am. It's definitely not my strong suit. I'd say if it's something that needs to be put together, you're doing it. Like I can assemble a thing of IKEA furniture, but I'm not great at it. And
but see, the thing is, I enjoy it. Like I can literally remember every single piece of IKEA furniture I've assembled because I get so much enjoy. Like, I remember my first desk. It was in the living room at the old house, and it was like 10 p.m. and I was assembling it. I remember this little bookshelf I had that I was listening to this certain song on repeat for an hour because I was just so meticulously taking my... I love it.
Okay, so yeah, that's great. You're very passionate about that,
It's
and
therapeutic.
I'm not. As a child, people wanted to give me Lego. I hate Lego because I just don't like putting things together. I hated Lego as a child.
I wasn't really given Lego, you know? I feel like that's something I missed out on.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely more of just like a boys thing. Like you give boys Lego.
I guess. I don't know. I had like a Lego dinosaur, and I always wanted to assemble it, but I think I just kept losing... It's like slowly I just kept losing more and more of the pieces until I couldn't put it together.
Okay. Well, in conclusion, Jill is a nuts and bolts kind of person.
No, you know what? I had a Barbie Lego house, and I loved putting that thing together. That was my favorite thing. You had to build it, and you had to take it. And mind you, it was like pre-built kind of, so it was literally just like stacking two things together. But you could build the furniture. I enjoyed that. Where is that?
But with that being said, this bike seemed actually really easy to assemble. Like it was just like a few simple steps. And something from this roadblock was that there was a lot of the partner helping the person doing the roadblock during this.
The partner, because typically you're not allowed to help, but they were right there being like, do this, do that, which usually isn't allowed. Especially because this was, I want to say, the second ever adjudicated, or quote unquote adjudicated task that we've had on The Amazing Race thus far.
That's true, yeah.
Because there was the one last season in Australia with the kind of in the mines. That was the first one. Because I remember you pointing that out. That was the first time there was ever something they had to bring to... Oh, a judge.
Yeah.
Like a judge. They had to bring to an individual, and he would say yes or no. And this was the second instance it's happened. A professional had to look at the bike and say, yes, it was safe to ride it, or no, it wasn't safe, because, spoiler alert, they're going to
be riding this bike. Yeah. No, I like this. I like having a judge and like having people make mistakes and then having to like go and fix it or like try and figure out what they did wrong. But yeah, I'd like to see, because I know like definitely nowadays the person who isn't doing the roadblock is not allowed to say anything to their partner. Like usually they're so far removed from what the roadblock person is doing. I wonder when kind of the rule switch happened.
I feel like it's kind of already... No, it's definitely not in place already. No.
Yeah,
because I feel like they'll highlight it. Like Phil will say at some point, like, the partner is not allowed to. Blah, blah.
Yeah. But the first team to finish this were Ken and Gerard, and they are told to go to the pit stop, which is the steamboat on Lake Geneva. And Lake Geneva is the largest lake in Europe, which we've had a lot of the largest X in Europe.
They're really
we have the largest waterfall, the largest bungee jump, the largest lake.
It's all in Switzerland, apparently.
All in Switzerland, yeah.
But there's not too much difficulty with this task, especially because, you know, they're on a lakeside community, so they just have to bike down to the harbor. So you kind of just naturally follow the hill down. But yeah, and we should add too, like, they get to the harbor front, they have to switch into like the pedal boat thingies, which look quite fun. But no one really struggles with this, I will say.
No. So yeah, Ken and Gerard finished the roadblock first, followed by Derek and Drew, and then it's down to Terry and Ian, who arrived last at the roadblock, and Zach. So it's between Ian and Zach here. Yes,
and I mean, the thing is, we as viewers kind of, because we can see the timeline, we already kind of anticipate it's a non-elimination round, so I wasn't feeling the stakes, but obviously the teams don't know it's non-elimination, so they are.
Okay, how did you anticipate it was non-elimination? I thought the next one would be non-elimination.
No.
Because we just had a non-elimination, and we've never had two in a row before.
Why would you do... In my mind, I'm just like, you know, why would you do a 2-hour special if you're going to eliminate one team halfway through?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that does make sense. But I thought it would be elimination here and then non-elimination next, because that's the way that they've been doing it, where it's non-elimination, elimination, non-elimination.
I'm like, why would you end an episode of TV not eliminating somebody when you eliminated someone I don't know. To me, it's just like it doesn't give that team who's eliminated a proper send-off, because then it's just like, bye guys, we're moving on.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. But yeah, it was just kind of unprecedented because we've never seen that before.
Yeah, I don't know, but um so where were we? Yeah. So Terry and Ian ultimately do finish the roadblock first, and they are making their way down. Terry has a little stumble off her bike.
No, this was hilarious because they're riding to the pit stop and it's like Terry takes a hard fall on her bike and it like cuts to slow-mo with Ian going Terry and it's like like a dramatic sound effect and then cut to commercial. Yeah, of course.
And then it's not actually that traumatic or dramatic. She's like, my bike is broken, and Ian fixes it in like a minute.
Yeah.
They move on, but it was really funny, that prior cut to commercial.
Yeah. And I will say it was nice to see Ian be able to pass Zach at the roadblock. We don't really get that often.
Yeah.
A team passes another at a task.
Finally.
And another great moment is Zach finishes the roadblock last. And then we see Flo reading the clue of where they need to go, and then she finishes, and she goes, Zach! And then we cut to Zach, who's taking his time converting his pants to shorts.
And Flo is so mad. He's got this like zip-on pants, like where there's a zipper halfway down.
Like the tearaways.
And so she's so mad at him because she's like, we could overlap Terry and Ian here, like we're close enough. And he's unzipping his pants. And she honestly here, because Terry and Ian ultimately, yes, do come in fourth. But she's so, like, I hate to say it, but she's really whiny because she just gives up. They get to the bottom, they get to the pedal boats, and she's like, there's no point. I'm not going to tire myself out if we're going to get eliminated. This is so humiliating. So, like, if it's all your fault, if you hadn't unzipped your pants, then we would have blah, blah, blah.
I know.
Like, it's really, to me, that's like, if you're going to go out, put a bit of effort in.
And the thing is, it wasn't like dead set they were out. Like, Taryn and Ian were literally in sight of them.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and she's humiliated because she, quote, got beat out by two retired people.
To me, it's more humiliating to go out the way she's going out, which is whining and complaining, than to just take
horrible sportsmanship. Yeah. It was really hard to watch and made me want to see her get eliminated because that was terrible. Yeah.
But nevertheless, she's not. And she does have quite a celebration because it's a non-elimination round. But yeah.
To my surprise.
To your, I don't know why you were to me it was a given.
We've never had two in a row.
To me, it was a given that I can't believe you're actually surprised.
Okay, well, whatever. But to go back a little bit, when we see Ken and Gerard come into the pit stop, Phil is giving like his stern face, and Ken and Gerard taunt him.
Yes.
And they're like, "Don't even try it with that face. We know we're ahead. And like, do your shtick and let's go." It was so funny, and they like make Phil break and like smile and laugh because they are in second, and Derek and Drew are in third.
Yeah. Sorry, we should have added that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the episode, and it was a 2-parter, but we'll cover part 2 next week.
Yeah, leg 10,
which I've already watched, but you haven't.
Yeah, but from what I saw the steamboat will go to Lucerne, Switzerland. Which, guess what?
Oh my god.
Yeah, you already know. So yeah, Flo was sobbing, and they're not eliminated, and I was fuming.
Yeah, but you know what? There's 5 teams left. Still, we're getting there. It's like there's 5 teams left, but I also feel so far removed from some of the teams that we lost earlier, like Trammell and Talisha. I know, it feels like ages.
Yeah, ages. Even like Aaron and Ariane, it feels like they've been gone for so long. But in conclusion, that is the episode. We'll come back with leg 10 next week, season 9, episode 9, part 2.
Indeed. And
but for now, we almost forgot our segment.
Our segment that no one has sent us feedback on. Guys, come on.
Head over to the email and tell us how you're using the Amazing Race Rewind mindset. The Amazing Race mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, Jill, do you want to go first? Oh.
Do you have something ready, or?
I have something ready.
Okay, you go, because I need to think.
Okay. So my utilization of the Amazing Race mindset this week occurred, it was when I was doing a puzzle, which is very Amazing Race of me. So I was doing a puzzle at my friend Becca's house, and she had to go for work, and her friend was picking her up from her house and then going to work. And I wanted to finish, the puzzle was kittens in a basket, and I wanted to finish the basket portion before she left because like I wasn't going to be in her house alone, like without her.
Right.
So I was like racing against the clock before her friend would come to pick her up to finish this puzzle. And Amazing Race mindset immediately kicked in, a switch flipped within me, and it was go time, and I got it done.
Wow.
So that was the Amazing Race mindset for me. I was on the Amazing Race in that moment and completed the puzzle before anybody else.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't visualize where basically I ran. Which okay, I need to get better in terms of physicality. I can't remember for the life of me where I was running, which is really bugging me because usually I'm really good at remembering this stuff. But I remember I was walking somewhere and all of a sudden it was just like, I need to run. Like I need to get there fast, and it was like around the corner. And I thought of that thing from season 2 where Alex or I've already talked about envision another team ahead of you. And let me be clear, this was maybe a 30-meter sprint. Like this was not far.
It was a marathon to you.
Exactly. Was I winded at the end? Yeah. I haven't worked out in a bit, but in my mind, I did manage to beat that team in the last 20 meters.
No, you beat Tara and Will going to the final pit stop.
Exactly.
You did.
And you know what? It's only up from here. Next time it'll be 100 meters, and I won't be winded.
You won't be winded. So yeah, that's how we utilize the Amazing Race mindset within our week. If you utilize the Amazing Race mindset within your week or within your life, please let us know at our email at amazingracerewind@gmail.com. Our inbox has been quite dry recently.
I know.
It's the Sahara Desert.
You're really slacking off. Come on.
Nothing but a tumbleweed in there.
Nothing but a tumble. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You can also follow us on Instagram to keep up at Amazing Race Rewind. Please give us a rating if you like this, 5 stars, and so forth. And that's all we have for today. So, have a good rest of your day, morning, evening, whenever you're listening to this. And we'll see you next week.
Part 2.
Bye.
Bye.